It's Lucha Lookback, week 4. Ah! Marcus, I'm Chad. We're meeting for the first time. How are you?
Good man, nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's great. We met in the ether. We met in the vortex that is old wrestling shows that no one watches but us. Still a big fan of that AWE reunion show. That is terrible, and I love it. I think the main event was like Kevin Nash and Terry Funk versus the Rockers, not the Rockers, the Midnight Express. Is that the right one? Which one is still wrestling in the NWA? Is it the Midnight Express or the Rock and Roll Express? I think it's the Rock and Roll Express.
I think it's the rock. Yeah, rock and roll. Yeah.
I knew I'd get there eventually. So week 4 of Lucha Underground, I've kind of nailed it. Like, I've long said that the end of season 1, season 2 was when Lucha Underground got real good, and the first few months of the show was a slodge to get through. It was just dreck.
It was.
Now, now Marcus, is completely allowed to enjoy things that I don't. We had to fix the contract to make that a thing, because usually it was just I say it and he has to agree, because contracts rule. That's no longer the case, so he's allowed to disagree with me. But if he liked this episode, that's completely fine. I thought it was trash. I didn't like a single thing about this, and I have reasons. I got, as the kids say, receipts. So let's start with the opener. Sexy Star's in the ring, and Ivellise comes out, and they're jabber-jawing at each other, and Melissa Santos is in the ring, and I'm just sitting here going, listen, 2/3 of you are trash people, but that don't mean you ain't pretty to look at. Especially Melissa Santos in that blue dress that went a little too low, or stopped a little too low, I should say. I'm just sitting here going, no, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. But what I will say is this. I love the setup of the temple. I think it was always one of the more creative things to do, and I love that they use like a band to really help offset the vibe of this being like an underground thing. Like, hey, here's some music that you've never heard of before. I dug that. I thought that was one of the best parts about the show. And this was an episode where I think the fans started to really get involved. So I think this was like a second day of shooting, because I think they shot for like a week or two. So I'm pretty sure this is when fans started to really get into it, and they started to recognize who people were. So dug it. So Sexy Star gets a promo in Spanish, basically saying that she's going to beat up Chavo Guerrero. Ivellise comes out and says, you're Sexy Star. You can't hang with men. You're a girl. And, oh, by the by, you ugly. And listen, I've seen Sexy Star without a mask. That ain't true. She might be ugly inside, but not outside. Kind of like Ivellise. This was a fine match. It really was. There wasn't anything about it that I would say was bad or good. The finish was great, because I think she used a Mahi Straw Cradle to get the win. And Matt Striker, I think, called it a Thumbelina. Okay. Marcus, Star and Ivellise, what's your thoughts?
It was a cringe fest, because I immediately got took back to, I'm not supposed to like her, but she's so pretty, but I hate her. But it was like the two things on my shoulder type of deal.
That's how I feel whenever I hear Hulk Hogan's theme music. I don't like Hulk Hogan, but that theme music is choice.
No, I'm right there with you about the theme music, and it's choice until he comes out and starts brothering it, because I can't hear that word the same when he's saying it.
Oh, come on, brother. brother. Hey,
yeah.
Booker T, brother. How you doing, brother?
Hall pass. Screw you, Book. But yeah. Shout out to Miss Santos in that blue dress. Wow,
oh my, right?
Overhead shot straight on, just the camera, great camera work here. And obviously she's a talented announcer. That goes without saying.
Sure, yeah, no, that blue dress though. I mean, goddamn. I'm trying to swear less in my life. But gadoom.
And now she's with a dude that needs to come out with better wrestling cosplay. Anyway,
did his child make that in utero? Like my God, Brian Cage, that cost $55 at the party store. Like, We all know that. Like, you went in one day for during Halloween, and it was either the $35 ninja costume, the $44 slutty nurse for guy costume, or the wannabe future robot costume, because they can't call it a Terminator outfit because it's a non-licensed property. And he went with that one. It's like, all right,
Look,
whatever.
I always appreciate the Party City vibes for real.
Right?
But yeah, this match, like you said, was fine. I mean, obviously Ivellise, and because I was like, I wonder doing like any of this when she was in Lucha, was she like ever 100% healthy? Because she came out there with like, what do you call that tape?
Oh, KT or PT tape?
Yeah,
I think it was KT tape.
Yeah, I felt like every time I saw her, man, like she was trying her heart out, man, but she was either injured or on the verge of getting injured. But here she was fine. She's a scrapper. Obviously, that Sexy Star's a luchador, like you said, got her with the La Maestra. And obviously, this will be the beginning of Sexy Star being a underdog in the temple. Almost so to the show's detriment at one point, but that's later down the road. But yeah, this was fine.
I loved on commentary. There was a brief moment where Stryker's like, "Yeah, Ivellise is dating Son of Havoc," and Vampiro goes, "I thought they were supposed to be siblings." And Stryker just goes, "Whatever floats your boat."
Yes.
So like, there's three possibilities. Unfortunately, it is true that Vampiro now is suffering with dementia. So it's very possible that Vampiro just forgot and said I thought they were supposed to be siblings. Or it could be very possible that Stryker misspoke. Or the idea was always supposed to be to set them up as incestuous siblings through this awkward dialogue. So I don't know. But that was one of the funnier moments of the show to me.
But that goes back to your point as well. Like, you could clearly tell that they were still... This was the early stages of everybody trying to find these dynamics with these characters and obviously the whole dynamic of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to get to it later. There's a certain dynamic between two people that kicked off when Lucha Underground first started, and that's not what it evolved into. And I don't know if that was a creative thing or was like, okay, I think this character does enough with her mouth as it is. We don't need to continue that, and it doesn't make sense later with what we're trying to do. So.
Ba-dum-tsh. So we get a little segment with Dario Cueto and Drago. He's like, "You lost last week, and now I'm going to give you to King Cuerno." And then Drago just walks away because this is how you have to get around, Hispanic people who don't speak English. And like the one thing I will say about this, I was not always a fan of the, TV movie style segments in the back where it was like, we got this, the camera tracking and the ambiance music and the smoke machine and all that. Like, I wasn't always a fan of that. It worked at times, but it wasn't my jam. But the ability to put subtitles under Spanish promos, thank God.
Yeah.
That was a good thing.
Yeah, unlike you, this was always my jam. I'm always there for the cinematic stuff with it, because it very much came out specifically that segment like a Mortal Kombat type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shao Kahn, obviously, not Shao Kahn, Shang Tsung, doing a little bit of recruitment, because obviously Drago definitely comes off like he being a Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig it. Like you said, brilliantly helped, specifically with this show with all the luchadors that would be on this show. Those subtitles really help. And also, because of the way they did it, for some reason, I didn't have any issues reading it, because I was just looking forward to what they would say back to somebody with the arrogance of Dario Cueto, because he could be talking to somebody that loses on the show every week, but they could definitely kill him. So.
And they didn't. Well, technically. So we get a Pentagon promo where he talks about how he's gonna do things, and then he drops his catchphrase for the first time on American television. And then Phoenix comes out, and they're like, now they're gonna fight. And I'm sitting there going, no one's gonna mention that they're brothers? Okay. This was one of those matches that I just couldn't get into. I felt like the whole point was to get Phoenix over, so they really held Pentagon back. And Pentagon's not the athlete Phoenix is, but I don't think it's because of a lack of ability. I think he just thrives better in different types of styles. So when he's put in there with high flyers like his brother, it's, the ambiance and mystique of Pentagon just kind of goes out the window. It's like, oh, okay, he's trying to keep up instead of wrestling his style. Like the match with Vampiro, I think at Ultima Lucha 1 is like one of those matches that perfectly shows who Pentagon is. And I don't think Phoenix brought the best out in him, so I was really bored in this match because I felt like they, really hindered Pentagon. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, this was another one of them things, and it's such a unique thing watching this, and with hindsight, um, because you can tell like eventually what the character would evolve to. He was still finding that thing because when he found his swag, if you will, he was no longer just the dude in the ring that looked cool. Everything became methodical. It became, he became very methodical and very evil based, and this audience is great. But everything became, very, just so much more intent behind it. You know what I'm saying? Because the set on metal didn't even mean nothing until he started breaking people's arms.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think Phoenix never really had to. I mean, obviously he would have a character switch down the line, but he was always that guy that you loved seeing coming back. So he was always who he was, but Penta just had to elevate, man. But yeah, like you said, this match, it just was what it was. It wasn't necessarily Mundo Morrison on the first night, even though I know that's not a top 5 for you.
Top 5 something maybe.
But yeah, another just fine, just another just fine match.
Elevate it to your mind. So yeah, that Will Ospreay's theme song's a banger.
Yeah, it is.
The one thing I will mention that I'm glad you brought up, Pentagon felt like just another luchador secondary. He's Pentagon Junior. He's not the original. He's just Pentagon. Like he's the next member of the lineage. When he started breaking arms and then transitioned into Pentagon Dark, I think that's when he really just became must-see TV. But we are a while from that. We then get promotion for King Cuerno. He's the hunter. Everyone else is the prey. He's going to be the big bad. No one's going to stop him. And then he loses to Drago. This fucking show. This is the shit, Marcus, that made me so mad for so long with Lucha Underground. They're debuting King Cuerno, the best predator on the roster. He's the baddest of the bad. He's going to do the big thing and make people do the big hurt. We don't even get that. We not even kind of, not even a little, not even somewhat.
It's weird too because they tried to, and this is an ongoing thing, and I saw this too because he was one of my favorites, but he never won enough. Like he never fully like he went after people, but he wouldn't necessarily win, or he might take somebody out. He was one of the coolest looking. The hairdress was cool. The music was great. His moveset was on. Like he had everything. And then, like you said, he loses to Drago. And I think, now looking in hindsight again, I wonder how much the concept of Drago would have benefited had he been like Jeff Cobb's size with that character.
Yeah. Well, I think Jeff Cobb is actually taller than him, but he's not as big. I'm sorry. I think King Cuerno is taller than Jeff Cobb, but I don't think he's as wide. Obviously, who is King Cuerno in NXT at the moment? Do you know?
Oh, Phantasma Delegado and Phantasma. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I have no idea who that is. Is he any good?
Yeah, you remember El Phantasma from Impact, don't you?
Yeah. I think that was his non-Lucha Underground name was El Phantasma.
Yeah. Now he just doesn't have a
mask.
Yeah.
Oh, they can't sell the masks. Don't do it. Dumbasses. So, the one thing I will say about this match, other than the image that I have on screen right now, it's this really cool shot of King Cuerno walking through the tunnel, but it's from the perspective of like the back of Drago. So like, he's illuminated in shadow. Melissa Santos is in front of him, illuminated in shadow. and King Cuerno is in the distance walking out to face them. Lucha Underground had some great visuals. I will give them that.
Mm-hmm.
The match ends with some kind of wonky ass, unbelievably impossible to explain situation where Drago did like an arm drag off the top rope. Right, he jumped off the top rope and took him down in an arm drag, and then like hooked him into like some type of like schoolboy roll up or some nonsense, and got the 3. I just watched it. Even Matt Stryker, who was the commentator at the time for Lucha Underground, was like, I don't even know how to call that. And Matt Stryker knows how to call everything. So
yeah, that was his finish.
Yeah. Which is still just what was it called?
I want to say it was the Dragon's Lair or something like that. Or...
It's not great. The Dragon Tail would have made more sense.
Yeah, Dragon. It might be that. I forgot exactly what it was, but I know that was his finisher. And I'm like, he's going to need something a lot more impactful than that if he's going to come up against guys who I thought would be Cuerno, but he beat him with it. So.
Yep, and Cuerno will start his run on being hyped and never winning. Speaking of never winning, I can't win because we have to deal with a Ricochet promo. So here's the best part. Here's the best part of this promo. Conan comes in, he's like, all right, listen, kid, we gotta get ready for Mundo and for Big Rick and his crew, and you gotta do this. And then like Ricochet just like kind of like gaping mouth, his maw is just like dropped, and it looks like he's like just watched 1,000 hours of that Hypnotoad meme, and he's just like, and Conan's like, I can see you're working out, so maybe you don't want to interrupt, so I'll leave you be and come back later. And then Ricochet just goes, and he looks around, he's like, and he looks down, he's like, That was the segment. I was like, why? He hasn't gotten better. 7 years later, still trash. Marcus, why do people like Ricochet?
They like to be odd, man. It's the same thing about the Flying Graysons, except for a more likable family.
I was going to say, but they're entertaining. They have charisma. Even the fictitious brother that only showed up in the movie. Even the great uncle who ended up being Talon.
Oh, yeah, because that is a thing.
Yep, that's a thing. Hey, your great uncle who's 95 is the newest big bad of the DC 52.
I wanted to go try to go that route in Titans, but
So main event.
Yeah, main event. Big Rick and L'Oreal.
L'Oreal. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Morrison. How did that not become a tagline? Jesus, people, you really dropped the ball here. So we're in straight up SmackDown 2008 right now. Only the best part is it looks like Big Rick is still on the indies because he's wearing just like regular shorts. Like he literally just rolled up from like a barbecue or like going out to a bar or something like that, and he had like just that's what he was wearing for shorts, and he borrowed somebody else's knee pads, and he showed up.
When the pretty boy challenges the dad at the barbecue.
This was basically the two dads at the PTA meeting having arguments over different things. No, thank you. I'm good. The match ends in a DQ after the match randomly breaks. We go backstage. Ricky Reyes and the other guy jump Puma, and then they run out and attack Mundo. The bells rang. They beat down Mundo and throw him through a table, and I'm thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, this is terrible storytelling. We just leave in the middle of the match and watch Puma get his ass kicked. Now, granted, I like that part. Hey, he's not talking. All right, cool. But I don't know. This was a weak match. They're building up to the idea of Mundo and Prince Puma being the top two faces in the company. I get that. And they're trying to build up to the idea of these two taking on Big Rick and his crew eventually. I get that. But, like, man, I don't care. And like, this show's a just slog. And I know it's not going to get better until the Trios tournament starts, whenever that is. And, God, I hope it's not that much longer. Because that's when shit really started to get interesting. Thoughts on the main event?
No, it was fine. Like you said, this really did take you back to SmackDown, and Rick could have had a better presentation, but he really wasn't supposed to have anything extravagant because he was just a big hired thug. Um,
Marcus, you can't call a black man a thug. What are you doing?
Goon, El Jefe.
The only
uh,
thuggery allowed is hockey thugs.
oh yes,
We, we,
classic
we, we like our goons.
El Fisticuffs, eh? But
Yeah, just throwing little blood, sweat, and tears onto the ice, mostly blood.
but yeah, it was fun. Like you said, again, we know the show gets better, but it's again, and a lot of reason why the first part of the series sucked for me it was because it was just too much damn Chavo. Just oh man, like my testosterone drops when I see this dude.
Oh no.
Like, why? Like like I appreciate his longevity and everything. He genuinely did a lot for and with the promotion, but it just the guy does nothing for me. You're not that Guerrero. I liked when I mean hell, his daughter had more flair when she showed up towards the end of the series. So
Wait, Chavo's daughter showed up, or you mean Eddie's
no
daughter?
Eddie.
Okay.
Yeah, Eddie's daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, Eddie's daughter has always had like a love-hate relationship with wrestling. I think she's supposed to be coming back again, but we'll see. Sol Guerrero, I think is her name. Sol.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. All right, over to the overall thoughts on this show, Marcus. What do you got?
I guess out of 5, I give it a 3. A 3 because at least they debut. And it's bad. We talk about Cuerno losing. They named the damn episode "Thriller of the Hunt."
And they still couldn't even give the guy a fucking win.
And there's gonna be an ongoing narrative with him and obviously the hunter hunting the dragon and that whole thing. But still, yeah. So yeah, obviously points for Santos, points for at least debuting Cuerno. And then we got that's what I was saying about the Katrina and the what you call it thing. In the earlier episodes, she was kissing him, and they tried to kind of made it like they were a couple, but that's not how that eventually evolved. It's like she lick a sweaty victim and then go immediately to kiss him. I'm like, I don't know if somebody pointed out that probably ain't the best thing, or they just didn't want them being together as a narrative going forward. But yeah.
Yeah, because didn't that get changed to like she ended up having to claim his rock thing and he wanted to kill her, so she used him for as long as she could to collect souls or something. Like, this show got stupid at times.
You remember it well, but Phoenix benefited the bastard because not only did he have a romantic storyline going on with her, which because she needed to use him because freaking man of 1,000 lives, but he also ended up going with Santos. Got to kiss both of them.
Yep. I will say this, though. If I was in that show, I'd be trying to get some on-screen or off-screen necking time with Katrina.
With our luck, we'll get stuck with Ivellise.
I mean, okay.
She'll like it good first.
I mean, I don't know how much worse, but like, she might try to kill me, but like, all right. Like, we can do this dance at least once.
I keep forgetting that's your bag, not mine.
Man, I'm like Gonzo in the Muppet movie when they're in the hot air balloon and Gonzo's like, wow, I'd really like to try this with a hot air balloon. Without a hot air balloon. And Kermit goes, what? You mean falling? And Gonzo goes, yeah. And Kermit goes, well, I guess you could try that, once. And that's how I feel about women. Like, all right, yeah, I can try this once because I know how it's going to end. All right, so we'll be back next week for another edition of the Lucha Lookback, episode 5. We'll see if it's any better. I'm going to go and give it a 2. It's about as good as I can give it. By the by, ZZ Top's bassist Dusty Hill passed away. If you ever watched the Santa Claus movie, their song "Give Me All Your Lovin'" was played during the start of the third act when they were walking through the North Pole. So he's 73. He had a life, but had a good long life. But always sad to see a rock legend go.
Yeah.
So, RIP. With that being said, Mark Screen is over on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, TruePennyShow. I'm on Twitter, Chad Nerdcorp, CHADNERDCORP, and on Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut. For Marcus Green, I'm Chad Porto. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. And as always, watch more wrestling. Marcus, take us home.
Good night, me.